You're always leery to leave because you might get a final comment in there. A reporter asking, obviously, about the multiple count indictment yesterday of Paul Manafort, his former campaign manager, and two others. Yesterday, big news day there. But his focus today is getting these tax cuts done. Back with Charlie Gasparino, also Forbes publisher Rich Karlgaard. Charlie, one of the things he seemed to indicate is that this will be very big. It will happen. It's reality. It's now for all of you in this room, including the National Association of Manufacturers, small business, you name it, Chamber of Commerce.
Individuals.
Individuals, that this is there for you and ready to go.
Looking at the markets, didn't really change much of this. I will say this. He's got a tall order to live up to. I hope he's right. I hope it is what he says it is, the biggest ever. Remember, he's saying essentially this is bigger than Ronald Reagan's tax cuts on the individual. I'm just saying that's what he's saying. Let's hold his feet to the fire on this. He is the president of the United States. He's saying it's going to be.
By the way, we should be clear. What is he saying is the biggest? Just to be mathematically correct,
he's not saying.
It's not the biggest in terms of taking a rate from A to B, or even in the aggregate size of it, so I'm not quite sure. But it's certainly the biggest in a generation.
He's saying this is the biggest ever.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the noise coming out of Washington, the trial balloons, that's why you have to see what they ultimately settle on. It won't be the biggest. As a matter of fact, it'll be pretty much of a tax increase on the upper income people who basically.
Don't know for sure.
If you listen to the noise, let's hope they back away from that. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And it looks like they're also really considering phasing in the corporate tax cut. You heard him saying, I hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there.
That's a very good point. Rich Karlgaard, one thing that I noticed is maybe this is all, kabuki theater and we're overanalyzing and we'll know the real figures tomorrow when the House Ways and Means comes out with at least its blueprint for how these things should look. But do they bounce this off the president? Does he know kind of where they're going to be, detailing things tomorrow, or is he unaware? What is it?
I have no idea what's occurring between the president and Congress on the details of this tax cut. But I must say that President Trump showed up today, and I mean the presidential Trump showed up today. I thought it was a great press conference. He needs to lead like that more consistently. I think he was speaking passionately and authoritatively, and I really hope we get this done. Look, we've had.
In other words, you would not be a fan of the tweets that keep coming out on this investigation into collusion and indictments and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, we've talked about that before, and I think Charlie agrees. This is really big. The difference between having a sub 2% growth economy over the last 8 years versus 3, where we are now, has been $3 trillion is missing in this economy. I mean, think about all the opportunity to create businesses, raise wages, all of that. This is where we need to get back to. And I think if we get tax reform and tax cuts, in addition to the regulatory cuts, we put the two important foundations that will sustain a 3% growth economy for years to come.
Well, a lot depends on that growth figure.
Right. Hey, listen, I think it's going to be more than 3% if Donald.
We've had 3% back-to-back quarters without this.
If Donald Trump, and by the way, they do, Mnuchin and Gary Cohn are working with the congressional leaders on what they're going to do tomorrow.
Steve Mnuchin and Gary Cohn, the Treasury Secretary and National Economic Council.
His main economic people.
Right.
If they do produce what Donald Trump says here, the biggest tax cut ever, if they do produce something close to what he ran on, 4% growth is not unachievable. I mean, we're getting 3% growth now just with the deregulatory agenda and decent corporate earnings. You got to see that goes to the bottom line. But my fear is, despite what Donald Trump says, is that they are worried about being cast as giving tax breaks to the rich. They're worried about the first year or second year deficits that do occur when you cut taxes before the stimulus actually kicks in.
And all the more, that's why they want those corporate cuts spread out.
Phased
so you're not going to have a big deficit.
I think when you walk away from that, you start walking away from your 3 to 4% economic growth on a sustainable, regular basis. And also, the president would today will be shown to be not being truthful with the American people if they go that watered down route. Remember, he said the biggest ever corporate individuals.
Well, that's his goal. He can blame Congress for not delivering.
Well, he's working with them.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's not
Rich,
reality.
do you get a sense with the markets? Of course, had an incredible surge here, October. Strongest since February as a month at the rate we're going, strongest October in a couple of years, that this gain, now the 7th straight strong monthly gain, is based on these tax cuts becoming reality. And if they don't become reality, then there's hell to pay. What do you think?
I don't know about that, Neil, because I think earnings momentum is so strong. You look at the reports of the big five in technology, you know, Apple and the others, and they've got momentum and they're strong and they disproportionately contribute to the index values of our stock market. So I think that I think there's actually upside surprise here if we get the kind of tax cut that President Trump wants. I think probably what it's factored in is a watered down version of the kind Charlie's talking about.
What do you think?
I mean, listen, I think the corporate side is not as important. I mean, listen, if you phase in a corporate tax cut from 35 to 20%, I think the market reacts fairly positive. I'm just saying that the problem that I have is, you know, on the individual side, is he really going to raise taxes on the individual side as he's kind of threatening with an extra tax rate?
In other words, not just leaving the rate where it is, but maybe lifting it higher, taking away deductions that would mean higher.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, listen, the whole notion of tax reform, as Ronald Reagan, if you want to be the biggest, if Trump really wants to say, I'm the granddaddy of all tax cuts I'm proposing, is to take down the rates dramatically and close the loopholes. I don't, based on what's leaked, I don't see that. Now, tomorrow, maybe he's building in expectations and going to exceed the expectations, which wouldn't be a bad thing tomorrow. And watch the markets rip if that's the case.